usually I see Dr. Roberts in Lakewood. Have had the honor at least 15, maybe 18 times of hearing him Moti Shabbos. It's always an amazing thing, inspiration for the students that we bring there. And therefore, Dr. Roberts kind of is visiting here. And I said, well, what an opportunity to inspire us here. So first of all, thank you. I'll give a little introduction. It'll not anywhere near what, but Dr. Roberts is a physician, entrepreneur, community leader, and a political activist. I think that's also true. With degrees in medicine and biophysics from the University of Pennsylvania, graduated a little bit later than me, not that much, and medical training at Harvard. He was 24 years as president and CEO of a major pharmaceutical company. Took it from pretty bad shape to extremely successful with over 800 million in sales. Alongside his success in business, public affairs, he's also a dedicated mentora who's built a thriving shul and kollel in Lakewood. And he's had the opportunity to advise presidents, prime ministers, senators, among others. And it's a really big honor to have Dr. Roberts with us.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, let me just start out by calling out one of my very best friends who's here in the room right now. Yeah, my daughter and my son-in-law, but Naftali Englard in the corner there, I actually spend more time with him normally when he's not here learning. That's not abnormal. Regularly, typically, than I do with almost anybody else, because I've been doing martial arts for the last 42 years continuously. And Naftali joined us. We trained with a guy who fought in the UFC, George Sullivan, 7 times. He fought 7 times in the UFC. And Naftali started training with us when he was 13 years old. He's now 19 and got his black belt. So I spend most of the time, more with him than almost anybody else. Really good friend of mine. Okay. So my name is Rich Roberts. I got my, I went to University of Pennsylvania. After my junior year of college, I submatriculated into the PhD program in biophysics. A year later, I was accepted to Penn Medical School. A year after that, I received the Medical Scientist Training Program Scholarship from the NIH. After completing the MD PhD program, I did a medical internship at Harvard, the Brigham and Women's Hospital. If anybody's from Boston, you'll know it well. And then I went into a family pharmaceutical company that was a small generic drug company on the verge of bankruptcy. It was sales were about $35 million a year. They were losing about $4 million a year. And the reason they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and the reason why I came is because my father called me in Boston and said, "If you ever want to try your hand in the company, you better come now. We're not going to be around much longer." So I knew nothing about business, but I knew how to organize things. I was certainly highly motivated, and Baruch Hashem was able to grow sales over the next 24 years. And by the way, it was not a straight line. Ups and downs and challenges and threats and complexities, and it was torture, but interesting. I was able to grow the sales from 125 million a year. Grow the sales from 35 million a year to 600 million a year. I took our income from a $4 million a year loss to a $300 million pre-tax profit with no debt, and then we were sold in 2012 for 800 million plus royalties. It came out, I stopped counting after a while, but it came out to about 1.2 billion. It was not all my money by any means, but I made more than a few shekels. So let's see, what else can I tell you? I told you about the martial arts. I live in Lakewood, New Jersey, lived there for like 33 years. I told you about the martial arts. Politically, I've been involved in politics now heavily, really to try to promote people who have the values that are very good for America, and that, of course, includes supporting the Jewish people and supporting the state of Israel. In 2016, on the Trump, excuse me, Robbie, can I get some seltzer? Something. This is my second talk today. I'm not used to this. In the 2016 Trump for President campaign, I was the vice chairman of the Israel Advisory Committee. I wrote about half of the policies of the campaign regarding the Middle East. These are not the policies of the administration. Once the campaign was over and Trump won, I was out. They actually offered me some ambassadorship at, I forget what it was, Norway or something. I'm not interested. I have a life, wife, kids, community. It's not, that's for some wealthy old guy who has nothing to do. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. What else can I tell you? So I'm talking about what, politics. When in 2020, when Trump was running for re-election, excuse me, COVID hit, and I went. I'm older, older than I used to be, right? Yeah, about 65 at the time. This is before they came out with Ozempic and Mounjaro. So I was about 40 pounds more heavier than I am now. Type 2 diabetes. I went into true isolation, true quarantine. But I came out about 6 months into the epidemic because there's a chance to meet with Trump personally at his country club in New Jersey. So I assumed that the Secret Service would make sure that Trump would be protected from COVID. So I met with him in the country club. There are a few other people there. And I did a little video for the local Lakewood online site, the lakewoodscoop.com, about the meeting. Excuse me. And I went to bed. Well, the next morning, the Lakewood Scoop put out the video that I was there with Trump. I'm a medical doctor. And it was announced overnight that Trump has COVID. So when I woke up, my phone was exploding. It was all the major, CBS, NBC, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Thank you. All these, I'm good, thanks. all these interviews they wanted to do with me, and they kept trying to get me to say, look, I donated all this money to Trump, and now he might have infected me. How do I feel about it? And do I have any symptoms? And how did he look? And, well, how do I say this inside the yeshiva? I was less than completely truthful. I said that he was sharp as could be. He was on his game. And the truth is, he was dull. His personality, his vivacious, aggressive personality didn't seem to be there. And I didn't think he looked great. But I was not going to say that to any of them because I think there's a protection of the country and the Jewish people, both, I think, mandated to try to support him. So they tried, but I've had media training from being in the pharmaceutical company, and they couldn't get me to do it. In the meantime, by the way, I did develop a cough after that, and yeah, it was actually on Simchas Torah. Right, yeah, my 10-year cough. It was on Simchas Torah, and we actually had arranged that if I had worse problems, Hatzalah would bring me on Simchas Torah an oxygen tank, and I managed it at home, so there'd be no record of my being in the hospital with COVID after having met with Trump, because I didn't want them to use it against Trump. You might think there's HIPAA laws, but people go around stuff. Anyway, that was that. I was told people today, the earlier meeting, about Senator Rand Paul. He's a United States Senator from Kentucky. His father, Ron Paul, was in Congress for about 35 years. He's a real anti-Semite, really hates Jews. He's also a contrarian to everything, stubborn guy, never got anything passed. And now this is his son, Rand Paul, is now a United States Senator. So in 2012, at the Republican National Convention, Rand Paul, who had been United States Senator for 2 years, told somebody he wanted to meet an Orthodox Jew. So I guess I got elected. So they brought him to meet with me. We had a long discussion there are a few. I brought the group from Lakewood. They were sort of behind me. He has people behind him, and I disagreed with him on many, many things. But the message got back to me after the meeting that he really enjoyed the meeting, and he especially appreciated the fact that I was quiet and listened to his points, and then I responded factually to his points without any personal attacks, without getting upset, and he really enjoyed that kind of intellectual back and forth. So we went on to become pretty good friends, the senator and myself, and I was working on him to enlighten him on issues important to us. And then for the 2016 presidential campaign, Rand wanted to run for president. So there was an evangelical out of California who had organized a trip for Rand to go to Israel, and it would include the leaders of 40 of the largest evangelical congregations in the early Republican primary states. So I ended up sponsoring the trip, for Shabbos night, rented out the Simcha room in the Plaza Hotel, and I had my wife and a couple of my daughters there. Were you there, Yali? Yali was there, and I had Rand's wife. There's a long table in the plaza. In the plaza, I had Rand's wife and my wife and my daughters at that end. They had the mission to develop a relationship with her. Do the girl stuff, I had Rand sitting right across from me. I had Dory Gold on one side of him. Dory Gold had been the Israeli ambassador to the United States, also the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. And the other side was Malcolm Hoenlein. And their job was, for 5 minutes, be chirping in Rand's ear about the geopolitical situation in the Middle East. Then after 5 minutes, we had 11 boys from the mirror in the corner. I signaled to the boys. Remember, Rand's father is a rabid anti-Semite. And now this is now Rand himself. I signaled to 11 Mir boys in the corner. They get up, start to sing as Mira. We start to walk around. They take my hand. I come around to Rand's seat. He's got a little crumpled up, nylon yarmulke on his head, polyester, whatever it was. And I said, Rand, stand up. So he stands up. I said, take my hand. Well, for a guy from Kentucky, when a man dances with another man holding a hand, it means something different than what it means for us. He was acutely uncomfortable, but he knew I wouldn't steer him wrong. So he took my hand. I got a yeshiva boy on the other side. We walk around the table, and then we all go back to our seats. Mir boys back to their seats. Dory Gold, Malcolm Hoenlein, and by the third time we get up to dance, I've got Rand, my arm around Rand on one side, Yeshiva boys on the other, Yeshiva boys over there. We're doing the lines back and forth. And I whisper in his ear, I say, Rand, if only your father could see you now. But he's a good sport. Well, he was a good sport. Probably a good sport, but he's just, I've now broken off my relationship with him. I helped him a lot. But when it came to things for Israel, he's just always had an excuse as to why he's going to not vote to help Israel. When Obama was elected president, and Obama nominated Harold Brown to be Secretary of Defense, Rand, as a senator, was on the committee to vote on that member of the cabinet. And I texted Rand. I said, this Harold Brown is a rabid anti-Semite. He's rabidly anti-Israel. Please vote against him. And Rand, and by the way, do all my text messages. I like to have documentation trails of everything. So it's still on my phone, as is everything else. So Rand said, I believe that a president has the right to have his own cabinet. He has the right to choose his own cabinet, so I'm going to vote for Harold Brown. And that's exactly what he did. When Trump got into the presidency, he wanted John Bolton to be Secretary of State. So I texted with Rand. I said, please vote for John Bolton, smart guy, loyal to America, and understands the issues. And Rand said, he's a warmonger and I won't vote for him. So the guy who's against the Jews and against Israel, Rand has a reason not to oppose him. The guy who's pro-Jewish and pro-Israel, Rand has a reason not to support him. Always a reason. After the last Gaza war, not October 7th, the one before that, Israel used up a lot of its Iron Dome missiles. This was like the last straw for me. And Israel wanted to get replenishment, money from Congress to replenish their Iron Dome missiles. And I asked Rand to please, vote for it. It was a few $billions. Rand said he's not opposed to voting for it, but I have to find that money elsewhere. For example, in the Afghanistan budget, take it out of there to put it in here. So like, Rand, can't you make your fiscal point on something else that's not such a life and death issue? And he held firm to that. When October 7th happened and Israel was under massive attack, I texted him, I said, Rand, I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted. And he said, that's not fair. Then I copied the text from, a couple of years earlier and showed him. And that was I'm really done with him. When I took him to Israel, I was working like a maniac to get all the different speakers lined up, the ones who would be able to speak his kind of language and give him an education. And AIPAC contacted me. A member from the board of directors of AIPAC contacted me about a week before the trip and said, how can they help out? What can they do? And I said, really, I wish you would have contacted me a month earlier. I've been doing an enormous amount of work to recruit all the best speakers for this trip. Now the work's already done. And they said, okay, well, can we meet with them? And I said, well, the truth is we had our schedules all booked up. Fine. Then I find out later, they went ahead and they made a luncheon with him on Shabbos. And it was like they just needed to have their finger on it, even though they had nothing to do with it. But it's a great organization anyway. I'm not a part of it, but it's a great organization. Just, that's how things go in the political world. What else can I tell you about? Just go to Q&A.
Q&A when you're ready. We'd love to hear.
Let's go so for Q&A, just ask me anything, absolutely anything. I really don't care. The stuff you wouldn't dare ask the rabbis. Rabbis put plugs in your ears, or anything else. So fire away.
And by the way, just to mention, he did not grow up religious, the observant.
Oh, right. I became from when I was 30 years old. The way I grew up, I grew up completely as a Reformed Jew. When I was 27 years old, do you guys know what phone booths are? You heard it? Okay. I don't know. For my kids, I told them what a typewriter was. I had to go on YouTube to show them a picture of it. But you know what typewriters are? Keys hitting. So there was in Center City. So I was working my PhD at the time, and my schedule was kind of flexible because I was doing experiments in the lab. So it might be that I would have 3 hours off, but then I need to go back at 2 a.m. because samples are coming off the chromatography column and they're radioactive. I have to get them measured. So I was in a phone booth in Center City, Philadelphia. There was a little sticker on it that said, "If you want to learn more about Judaism, call this number." And I called. I called very defensively, thinking it might be like a missionary trying to convert me. And the guy who answered very, very defensively, thinking I might be a missionary trying to infiltrate his group. He had been a hippie in the 60s. Do you guys know what hippies were? Yeah, sorry. I don't know where you're holding. I come from Lakewood. Most people wouldn't know. But he was a hippie in the 1960s. And then he became from and got a smicha from YU. And he was there doing kiruv in Philadelphia. He lived in his name was Michael Skoback. He's now working in Canada, doing kiruv or anti-missionary work. So he lived alone. He did in a small apartment. He had a phone answering machine. It's like on Shabbos, I'd call him on Shabbos day. I'd say, "Hey, Michael, it's Rich. I'm going to the mall and then I'm going to watch a movie. I know you can't do it, but have a good Shabbos anyway. Bye-bye, ha-ha." And he never acted angrily. He never criticized me. But I just learned with him. So he told me, for example, about the 613 commandments. Well, I said, look, you can make up some 613 commandments and call it Judaism. I choose not to. Your way is no more right than my way is. Not only did I literally know nothing, what they taught me in, I call it reform school. You don't get the joke. Reform school is something, a juvenile commits a crime, he goes to reform school. I was in reform Jewish school. Anyway. What I learned in reform school was stuff that's just not true. It's not even Judaism. The Passover Seder they thought was reading nice passages from secular poets, and playing the guitar. That's how I was raised. But I then, learned. If you don't learn, I found something true in all areas of life. Like one of these key principles: people who don't know that they don't know. They just don't know. I remember I had a patient once. She came in, a woman with her friend, and I was asking her questions, as a physician, and the friend just chimed in, started asking questions herself. But she doesn't know that a medical doctor, when he's asking questions, he finds out what her symptoms are, and he's now making in his mind what's called a differential diagnosis. Literally, he's listing in his mind the 5, 10, 15, 20 most likely diagnoses this is, and the doctor is asking questions specifically for symptoms to rule in or rule out, to narrow that field down, hopefully just a few diagnoses that then you can do testing to confirm which one it is or isn't. But she doesn't know this. She doesn't know that she doesn't know this, so she's asking these random questions. So yeah, that's what I found out. Like people that don't know that they don't know. As a Reformed Jew, I thought, I know Judaism, I'm Jewish, I'm just Jewish as anybody else. Well, yeah, you guys know. Questions go to? Okay, let's go to questions.
Going to the fundraiser.
Maybe say who you are, where you're from.
Benny Shapiro.
Stand up.
Stand up, Benny Shapiro. Rob Benny. Okay, go on.
Benny Shapiro from Chicago. Going to
Are you a Bears fan?
I am a Bears.
There you go. Oh,
It's like basketball.
since Michael Jordan left, it's it's downhill.
Something related to the fundraiser. Do you see a reason why the Jewish world should invest more in Ohr Somayach than other places? Because that could be a little bit of a controversial idea. And if it is, how would you go about pitching that to someone without over pitching them?
Right. It's a good question. Good question. I rarely get a question I haven't thought about. So you heard what he's asking. So how do you pitch the importance of Ohr Somayach over other yeshivas or organizations when you're fundraising? I mean, first of all, if you're talking to someone who's a Baal Tshuva, they're obviously they should obviously be very sympathetic to the cause. There is actually a question in Kiev. The Kiev has changed a lot. Basically, it's largely died. I shouldn't say to you guys because you guys are here, and that's fantastic. But it has substantially died. A dear friend of mine for many decades, Rabbi Yitzhak Feldheim. Do you know Rabbi Yitzhak Feldheim? Maybe no. He's in Lakewood now. Yeah, but anyway, he said that going back 30 years ago on college campuses, people, Jews would have they were interested in philosophical understandings of what's the meaning of life, why are we here, what are we supposed to do, and you could engage them. And he says now people just want to make money, they don't care. It's kind of like the social media dumbing down of the consciousness. So there is a thought among people, some people in the Frum community, I can't tell you percentages, that the resources are better spent on keeping Frum kids from than trying to go out now to campuses where it's so hard to get anybody who's Jewish at all interested. Now, October 7th, from a Jewish awakening perspective, was a delightful surprise. And I say delightful surprise because I was shocked by how many non-religious Jews still felt this connection to Israel. And that's, as a non-religious Jew, you don't believe in God, you believe in Israel. So that was very surprising to me, delightfully surprising. But all in all, the question is where to spend the resources going forward. Obviously, I'm a Baal Tshuva, and I believe in Kiev and an organization like Ohr Somayach. By the way, I was very, very close with Rav Nata Schiller. I don't know if I'll tell you this. You guys knew Rabbi Schiller? Yeah. In New York City, the public schools go by PS for public school, and then the number 27, number 55, whatever it is. So when Rabbi Schiller would send me emails, I don't know if he only did it for me, but he would sign it, Nutter Schiller, shortstop, PS 57. Very, very normal person. Actually, my experience is the bigger people are, the more normal they are. The less great they are, the more greasy they have to act. So I guess it depends who you're speaking to. If it's someone in Kiev, they should already know and understand it. If it's someone, not Kiev, I mean someone's about Tshuva. If they're not about Tshuva, if they're FFB, I would probably talk to them about the success in Ohr Somayach. How many, and no, the rabbis will have the numbers, how many non-religious boys have come through here, become from, and had families, and then some estimate on the number of children from there from children that resulted, because there's a whole world of from people that have come through, that are created by Ohr Somayach. That might be something that would appeal to them. And then give them some statistics, how great the guys are here, how great they are, and how sincere they are in their learning. That's something that would probably appeal to an FFB. Of course, you have to get an FFB with money. Most FFBs are broke. Someone asked me, why do most Orthodox Jews not have dogs? It's because they have children, right? When you got 12 children, there's no time for a dog. By the way, just an aside, one of my daughters told me that when she was in shidduchim, she thought that for her shidduch, the boy has to be this way and that way, and think this and think that. And she said now that she's married with a couple of kids, it's just a matter of diapers and bottles and pacifiers and sleep time, and there's no time to even, that stuff just doesn't mean anything. You want to get good mitos and you're done. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I guess if you're talking to any non-religious Jews also, you don't want to criticize them. They're usually very defensive, but you could talk about the future of the Jewish people, not God, Torah, spirituality, but the future of the Jewish people, and how the Jewish, or the Orthodox Jewish communities are bursting at the seams, which they are, and they all believe in Judaism. That might be something better they would relate to than believe in God, believe it or not. So that's my advice. Question?
Shimon from Texas.
You look like one of my nephews, but okay, never mind.
I'm sure you've gotten your fair share of donation calls before. It's the wrong way to ask for money.
Okay, so in 2007, I got my first big dividend from the company, and I gave. I think it was $1 million or $2 million. You know what BMG is? The big liquid. I gave I think $1 or $2 million to BMG, and I wrote the check out, and I put it in an envelope, taped it to my front door, and I told Rabbi Mordechai Hershkowitz, I don't know if you know him, there's a check on the front door, come get it. And I gave $1 million, maybe to Esha Torah, I think $500,000, something like that. So I thought that, like in business, if a big customer, like let's say CVS or Walgreens started buying a product from us, we're not going to tell the other drug companies they're doing that, right? Because they're going to try to move in and take the business. So it didn't even occur to me that they would tell anybody. When I tell that to all my FFB friends, they all laugh hysterically. It's like one shark gets a bite of the blood and they tell everyone else to come over. Our lives were destroyed at that point. We had two. This before cell phones, any major cell phones. We had two telephone lines. Couldn't get on it. They were ringing day and night. Our front doors being banged on day and night. I couldn't daven with a minyan for a year. People would constantly line up. They would try to talk to me, schmooze me up for five. First, remember, I'm living in Lakewood with my family, wife, and lots of little kids. The corporate headquarters are in Philadelphia. I'm living there 3 nights a week. When I'm not doing it, I'm traveling back and forth. I'm working like a maniac, to try to save this company and build it up. And I come back to Lakewood, and I'm like a broken person at the end of the week. And a friend, starts schmoozing me up for 5 minutes. Great, nice one to sit. And then comes the ask. That can his Rosh Yeshiva meet with me? Can this or that? Every single friend, every single relative, every rabbi, even our medical doctor and a lawyer all tried to solicit me. My wife's father was on his deathbed in my Maimonides Hospital in New York. And my wife was in the intensive care unit, family section, and there were tears in her eyes. A woman comes up here and says, her maiden name is Ritterman. Devar Ritterman? Yeah. Oh, we have an organization and we're doing this and that. And we're just like, what? And her father, was nifter a couple hours later. So I tried to recover our lives, because there's no telling people no. They don't care. These people are professional collectors, or they don't work for a living and they just collect. And they're used to being told no. They're used to having the door slammed on their face. I didn't do that, but they're used to that. It doesn't affect them. They just keep going. So after a year of our lives, couldn't go to a store. I went to a store once to try to get in my car. It was blocked in by guys who wanted to solicit me. I couldn't get out of the parking spot. So after I tried multiple things, and I tried telling people they have to write a handwritten letter with a self-addressed envelope from the U.S. mail to get tzedakah. Still didn't work, because what's the downside risk to asking me? So I came up with a formula, and I don't think it's well known, but it worked. And I have to stick to it very strictly. And that is, if anyone approaches me for anything, oh, we don't want money, just we want you to tour yeshiva. Yeah, right. If they ask me for anything except through a handwritten letter with a self-addressed envelope sent in the U.S. mail, then they and their organization goes on a 1-year no tzedakah list that my secretary keeps. And then if they get my email, they email me, I tell them that, and then they send, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. That's a 2nd year on the no tzedakah list. Within 3 months, 98% of the solicitation stopped. Word gets around. And now it's almost never ever does someone, approach me directly. So that's just and it's not like I don't give money to tzedakah. I don't need another place to find to give money to. Oh, then the rumors go around. That Rich Roberts just got $42 million he needs to give away to tzedakah and doesn't know where to give it. So that's my system now. That's what I do. And but the thing is, I have to stick to it. Like not to make a pun, but like religiously stick to it. Because if I make an exception, that can get around and it can defeat the whole purpose, the whole power of the program. But we recaptured our lives. It was amazing. And by the way, our 4 daughters, Baruch Hashem, are married. Each son-in-law got the briefing, because his Rosh Yeshiva is going to ask to meet with me and blah, blah, blah. And they all know to tell him, if I can tell my father-in-law, but it's going to work against you for a year. Okay, any other questions? I feel like there should be some more questions. Maybe I'm a dull guy.
My name is Ben Freeman. I'm from Chicago.
A Bears fan also? All right, good.
Medical school.
Oh, really? Medical school?
Yeah, I took it for
Which medical school?
university.
Oh, great. Welcome to the profession. It's miserable. My daughter, by the way, is a doctor of nurse practitioning, so she can actually prescribe drugs, and is a great person to invite to a party. Okay.
Support for Israel and given that inflation hasn't been anywhere close to 2% for a very long time, Trump's policy in the Middle East is very unpopular. Do you have a secular or more right-wing appealing argument for the pro-Israel, pro-Jewish?
The arguments for Israel are overwhelming, and the arguments against Israel are based on flat out lies. For me to go through all those arguments here, I think is not productive. It's all available online. All the pro-Israel arguments you can just find on YouTube. These pro-Israel guys, I'll tell you. So genocide, committing genocide, and the Palestinian population under Israel has gone from 700,000 to about 10 million. That's not genocide. That's the other direction. Maybe we can go on and on and on. I have some videos on my YouTube channel also defending Israel. So I'm not going to go through all the things here, but there's the guy who ran Bill Clinton's presidential campaign is named James Carville, and he's a grand old master of Democrat Party political strategy. And he has a famous line. He says, "It's the economy, stupid." Oh, what about this? What about that? People, if they have jobs, if they can pay for things, they're happy. Which I was just explaining to the cab driver on the way over, why I believe America is going to attack Iran like any minute now. It's because we have to get the war won, not finished, won by July. So you have a couple of months before the November election for gas prices to come down. So, and Iran knows this. That's why they were trying to schlep out the negotiations. Trump knows it. That's why he's not going to let it go on anymore. So I firmly believe, without being 100% sure, only 99+% sure, that the attack is going to happen in the next day or two, maybe even while we're talking, because they have to get it done. But what's that?
We have shelter.
Right. Israel has traditionally been horrible when it came to public relations. When I was a kid and through most of my life, their ambassador to the United States would be a guy with a thick Israeli accent, couldn't even understand what he was saying. And the attitude in Israel was, we're going to fight and we're going to take care of it. We don't care what anybody thinks. Israel got wiser. They have now, online social media people that are doing a great job. But obviously, there's been a huge effort from the other side to propagandize people. And there are a lot of people online that are propagandized. But be careful about what you see on social media. On social media, a lot of what you see on social media are lies, flat out lies. I saw in the other group, there was one of my daughters that told me about some couple, not Jewish couple, on social media, boyfriend, girlfriend, perfect life, thrilled, happy, jetting around, doing this, doing that, lovey, and he murdered her. So it's a lie. They want clicks. Thank you, Tucker and Candace. You want clicks. Megan, you want clicks. The anti-Semitism in Europe, I think, largely comes from the Arabs who Europe felt guilty over murdering 6 million Jews, so they let in a couple million Arabs. Thank you very much. But fortunately, by the way, there's a right-wing backlash in Europe now. Starmer in Great Britain lost these elections, and there's other right-wing groups coming up, which is hopeful in terms of stopping the Arab Muslim takeover of Europe. On the other hand, unfortunately, there's significant strains of anti-Semitism within those right-wing groups. Pick your poison. Yes?
Sevi Kaufman, I'm Rabbi in Yeshiva. Something that comes up very often is about anti-Semitism, especially outside of the land of Israel. I understand that there was some sort of meeting with Tyler when it came down to I don't know exactly what happened, but how should or how does the Jewish community in America, Baruch Hashem, has a lot of Hatzlacha, opulence, and that's one of the reasons that the non-Jewish world comes against us. Like, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that in a place like Lakewood? How do you navigate that in the States in general?
Right. Do you guys know who Tyler is that he's referring to? Yeah, Tyler Oliveira. So he went to Kiryas Yoel first. Let me just type up here, Tyler. Oops. He went to Kiryas Yoel first, did his video. He gets 5 to 10 million views per video. So, and he was just brutal. And he's I don't think he's actually anti-Semitic. He's just wants the clicks, and he knows how to get them. So I don't think he really cares so much about, anti-Semitism plus or minus. He just wants to get clicks. So he was then at one of the biggest Oskins in Lakewood, contacted me, sent me a social media page that showed that Tyler was coming to Lakewood. and he said he wants to, if anyone has any tips for him what to do, contact him. I never heard of it. I didn't know about the Curious Yoel video, but I contacted him and had him and arranged for him to come to me to interview me when it comes to Lakewood. Now, do I say this or not say this? Say it. I might suggest that you don't put this on social media, this piece, but I arranged him to come to Lakewood in January, where it's going to be 20 degrees temperature and it's supposed to snow, because he likes to do a lot of ambushing people on the street. And I thought maybe there'd be very few people on the street, and that way I could sort of undermine his visit. It didn't work out that way, but he came to Lakewood and he met with me for 4.5 hours. He interviewed me, and when he came out with the final video, and I showed him how everything he said was wrong. I did my homework. I looked at his previous videos. I took down notes. I used AI. I had documents ready to hand to him, how Israel's valuable to the United States and all these types of things in different folders. He comes in just unprepared. But when he did the final video, he only put like 5 minutes in it of me and gave major time to 2 anti-Semites in Jackson, New Jersey. So I should tell you about Jackson also, when I overthrew the government there to protect the Jewish people. You want to know about that? Okay, let me try to finish Tyler and then Caleb Snyder, and then please remind me to go to Jackson, okay? So he did his video, very, very anti-Jewish, anti-Lakewood, completely slanted, false throughout. And then, but at the end of the interview with me for 4.5 hours, he wanted to exchange cell numbers with me. Because I showed him a lot of warmth, and sometimes I'd jump up laughing, I'd grab his hand, I'd hug him. Didn't work, but I tried to show him warmth. As someone commented on my YouTube channel, she said, I think it was a woman said, Dr. Roberts, you showed Tyler warmth and he stabbed you in the back. No, I don't care. I don't care personally. I just wanted to achieve the objective, and there was no changing him. But I kept in contact with him, and what happened was he got Patreon is an app or a service that YouTube creators can use, so people watching and want to donate can donate through Patreon. Especially you can get on Patreon with like a monthly program, $5, $10 a month, whatever it is, to go to the creator. After he did this one on Lakewood, he got deplatformed from Patreon. And he went ballistic. He put out something, they can't do this to me. If they think it's going to stop me, who do you think did it? He doesn't know it was a Jew. It wasn't me. Truthfully, it was not me. I told him it wasn't me. He also said it was he thought it was the ADL, Anti-Defamation League. I said, I don't think so, because when I was trying to deal with the Jackson government, the secular Jewish organizations had no interest in helping Orthodox Jews. So I don't think it was the ADL, but he never could identify, and he's now going on to other topics, nothing to do with the Jewish people, just to get clicks. But anyway, so after he was deplatformed from Patreon, he then put out on social media that he was going to upload the entire 4.5 hour interview with me on his website, not on YouTube, on his website. And you can see it if you contribute to him through Patreon for his website. He was deplatformed for YouTube, but not for his website. So one of my daughters sent this to me like 2 hours before Shabbos. So now I'm like, Shabbos is coming, I'm freaking out. But I then uploaded the entire interview to my YouTube channel for free, hoping that I could undermine some of the revenue that he might have gotten from that. But I've been in touch with him since then. Most recently, when I landed in Israel, 4 or 5 days ago, I got this like VIP service that I don't get off the plane. It took me through the airplane area to some other lounge somewhere while I waited for my luggage, and I took videos because I was astounded. There's like about 50 U.S. Air Force planes there, cargo planes, or in-air refueling planes. They're dark gray with like a black nose. And I send him these 2 videos of those planes. I said, Tyler, something big is about to happen. So he wrote back, he said, hey, would have loved to have seen you. As I'm sure you saw, I've been banned from and deported. Be safe over there. I actually said this before he was denied entry into Israel. So then I told him, I wanted to send you a humorous reply, but I'm concerned that you'll use it against us. Now I thought he'd say, no problem. Send me the joke and I won't tell anybody. No, he didn't. He wrote, haha, okay, well, safe travels. What I was going to write to him was, you were deported from Israel, ? Return. Why ? Return. I told him to arrest and torture you. But I would only tell him that joke if he guaranteed not to use it, which he didn't. And then actually yesterday, there was this Yom Yerushalayim Day, all these parades. I'm in the Waldorf and go right by our front door, front of the hotel. So I took a bunch of videos. There was such a Simchas L'chaim in these. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but it was tremendous to see. So I wrote to him, outside of my hotel room, I took the following videos about 10 minutes ago. Today is Jerusalem Day, celebrating the liberation of Jerusalem in 1967 after 2,000 years of Jewish exile. After suffering thousands of missile attacks, so many wars, outnumbered 50-1, and being surrounded by countries and organizations funded by Iran with the explicit intent to kill us, check out the spirit of the Jewish people. He saw it, I get the blue check marks, but he did not respond. Still, I try to be warm towards him while stalking him also. Okay, Jackson? Oh, do you guys know about Caleb Snyder? Oh, so about a month after Tyler's YouTube video, month and a half, I get a knock at the door. I see there's a guy with a long beard, long shirt. So I get my $2. I've tried in the past. I'd give him $20. They come by the busloads. So it's $2. That's it. They want to talk to me. I smile, hatzlach, while I close the door and lock it. So anyway, so I get my $2. I open the door. There's this frum guy with a Becker shirt and a beard, and there's next to him a tall, young goy with a backpack. And I opened the glass door and I said to the frum guy, I said, "You're not here for this, are you?" He said, like this is no, and he walks away. So the goy starts talking to me. He's an evangelical. His name is Caleb Snyder, an evangelical from South Carolina. He loves the Jewish people and he loves Israel. He despises what Tyler did to us, and he wants to make videos to go against us. Can you talk to me for a few minutes? So he comes in, of course, right away. I'm looking him up on social media to see if he's real or not. I set up my camera because I always want to have my own copy of what's going on, any kind of interview. And he goes on to tell me, that's it. He just came to Lakewood, just didn't know where to go, what to do, but he kept asking people, where's Dr. Roberts? So somebody directed him to my shul next door, and this frum guy, he asked the frum guy, he was in the car, where's Dr. Roberts? And frum guy took him to my home. So I spent the next day like a maniac. I mean, these people, I just wish they would like pre-plan something, but setting up meetings for him, a tour of Bikur Cholim, trying to get Hatzalah on the phone, trying to get the mayor of Lakewood to meet with him, and the guy that Naftali and I do martial arts with, George Sullivan, UFC fighter, right? He has the credentials, he has the gravitas with the general public, and he wanted, and Caleb had told him, said he'd love to interview George, so he went to George's house in Toms River, which is the one community over, interviewed George, and you can see if you want to see Caleb Snyder's interview, but George says, you know what, when I used that word previously, I saw a little shudder from the rabbis. You can look at it yourself if you want, but George was very explicit about how good the Jewish people are and how not intelligent people are who think that we're bad. So, Jackson, New Jersey. The Frum communities, is expanding geometrically, right? We're having lots of kids. Almost all of them stay from, most of them have lots of kids. And the numbers Lakewood is filled up. There's about 120,000 Orthodox Jews in Lakewood. It's filled, and Orthodox Jews now been moving into the neighboring townships. Now, neighboring township is just the next street over. There's no, you don't go over any bridge or anything. It's just the next street over. So for about a year, I was getting calls from Jews in Jackson Township who they were calling me anonymously because they were really scared for their physical safety that what was going on in Jackson. Jackson passed regulations against having an Erev, against opening up a educational institution with a dorm attached to it. No one's opening up in Jackson, New Jersey, except from people, and some other regulations clearly designed against Jews. Also, the inspection department for Jackson was watching the From app on where there's davening times, and they would then post themselves outside of From homes where there's supposed to be a minyan, and they would count the number of Jews on the street. They would check license plate numbers. And they were so unprofessional hicks that they put this all in emails on their email system. So when the Aguda sued Jackson for discrimination, all this came out in discovery. And it literally is saying there's 7 men on the street wearing the garb and carrying Bibles. In one case, they saw a bunch of From guys go into somebody's home. And the inspectors went onto the property, looked in the windows, couldn't see anybody, looked into the garage, from the window of the garage, didn't see anybody, went into the backyard where they have a pool house to see if the From people were there. Because, as I said, there's a lot of press on this. As I said to the press, also with Republican leaders, I said that if we were there watching football, getting drunk, or watching pornography, it would have been fine. But if we're praying, you have an illegal house of worship, and we're going to shut you down. So I went to Washington and met with Ronna McDaniel, who was the head of the Republican National Committee at the time. That's the head of the whole Republican Party, that organization. They put out a statement condemning anti-Semitism in Jackson, and I hired a political campaign group out of Washington, D.C. that runs political campaigns for Republican senators like Ted Cruz and others. And in the court case of the Aguda against Jackson, the judge ordered both sides that they're not allowed to disparage the other side in the press. So I contacted the head of Aguda, who was heading up this lawsuit, and I said, he knows me well, and I said, I'm about to do something. I can't tell you what it is, but you can't have anything to do with it. So from this point forward, we will not speak again until this is all done. Because I don't mind being the bad guy. It's fine. I kind of like it. But anyway, we made a commercial for Fox on Fox News. So Jackson is solidly white Republican. Let me find the ad we did on Fox News. 1 minute ad. I'm going to put this down. Okay. It's going to play the second I hit the button.
New developments in that deadly attack in New Jersey. Surveillance video shows they clearly targeted that Jewish market.
There's a synagogue located next door.
There's no question that this is a hate crime.
Antisemitism is on the rise, and now it's coming from Jackson Township's government. Elected officials and
Let's start again. I will use the speaker.
New developments in that deadly attack in New Jersey. Surveillance video shows they clearly targeted that Jewish market.
There's a synagogue located next door.
There's no question that this is a hate crime.
antisemitism is on the rise, and now it's coming from Jackson Township's government. Elected officials in Jackson have passed ordinances targeting Orthodox Jewish families. Exposed township emails show officials surveilling religious Jewish families, praying in their homes. They even took revenge on a decorated veteran who testified against their anti-Semitism. Jackson officials are intimidating Jewish families, and they admit it.
These were churches, should they be part of it? Absolutely.
Shameful. This isn't America. Now multiple federal lawsuits against Jackson are threatening to bankrupt our township. Enough is enough. Tell Jackson Township officials there's no place for religious discrimination in our community. Visit familiesforjacksonjustice.com. Hate stops here.
Okay, that was the ad. Thank you. It's all these things are a lot of work. I don't just have the political group go do it because they wanted to do all kinds of wild stuff, and I had to get my own attorney involved to check it to make sure I'm not going to get sued for libel. The mayor of Jackson is one of the guys in there presented in black and white, looking like a criminal. Maybe I'll give you the story, but he's not one of my best friends. So is Japan and Germany, the United States. You never know, right? I tried with Tyler. So we ran that, and they were going crazy in Jackson. We started a social media campaign against what was going on in Jackson, had the website going. What we did was I had a spy inside the Republican club in Jackson, a non-Jewish guy, and they were so honored. They were having a guy running for Senate, United States Senate in New Jersey, coming to visit with the Republican club. So 5 minutes before he was supposed to speak, I had my spy in there tell me it's 5 minutes before, and we had gotten the cell numbers of every resident of Jackson, and we then sent out a blast text message announcing the launch of this website. And they were all hysterical, and they were upset, and they're fighting. There were resignations. But the lawsuit from Aguda was kind of stalled. It wasn't going anywhere. I was causing all kinds of trouble for them. And then, I don't get the details of this, but I had 2 calls with the White House. And then somehow, coincidentally, after that, the Department of Justice filed suit against Jackson. And the Department of Justice is the 800-pound gorilla. You do not mess with the DOJ. If they're after you, you're in deep, deep trouble. And then Baruch Hashem, that caused a sort of a collapse of the government people there, and Jews have been moving in. And now the mayoral election was coming up, and this Mayor Mike Reyna, who looks like a criminal in the ad, he told people he wants to come to my home and apologize to me. And he's sort of the old-time Italian, very much into honor and respect. And he said he feels bad. He said when he signed those ordinances, he was under tremendous pressure from people all around him. He said he knew it was the wrong thing to do. He didn't want to do it, but under pressure he did it, and he regrets it. And okay, great. And now he wants to come to our side. Now, our side is not to be pro-Jewish. Our side is just to not be anti-Semitic, not to be a bigot, just be fair to everybody. So I ended up giving like $40,000 to his campaign. The Askanim were helping him a lot. They got 80% of the Orthodox Jewish vote to come out, and he won the election. And things have really turned since then. There are now shuls being approved where they weren't before, and there's a whole, and more Jews are moving in. Now, I'm telling you a whole lot of work and a lot of stress in just a few sentences, but Baruch Hashem, it worked out. Now Mike and I are like great friends. He went to Africa. He WhatsApps with me.
One more question.
Okay, fine.
We've got around 11 hours and 28 minutes left for to raise money. So
Okay.
we could probably listen to Dr. Roberts, I'm sure,
Fine.
almost for the next 2 or 3 hours. But
We can end now. It's the same price.
last question.
Shua, sorry.
Hi, I'm Shiur, a judge. I just have a question. What would you say is the smartest investment for a 24-year-old like myself with a decent savings account that's just sitting there?
So I have a on my YouTube channel during COVID, I said to people, the smartest investment is the S&P 500 because you're diversified across the 500 top companies in the United States. They actually, about 40% of the business comes internationally. So you have international exposure that way. And it's obviously completely regulated. Not some of these fly-by-night guys says, I'll give you, guarantee you 15%, 20% a year. No. So, and I have, since I sold the company, I have a private wealth management group from Goldman Sachs, who I've since fired Goldman just a few months ago, and another private wealth management group from JP Morgan. And over the last 13 years, They did, they're going to diversify my portfolio. They're going to protect me against risk. And when the whole market's up, all their stuff is up. Whole market's down, all their stuff is down. But the performance was half of the S&P 500. So I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew from my experience, just by the S&P 500. And even now, I do believe, I've been through bubbles. I've seen bubbles. I do not believe that AI, first of all, it's not AI, it's AI plus robots. It's not a bubble. I believe that we're in the very early stages of an industrial revolution or the advent of the internet. But the difference is when the internet started, there were just a gazillion companies who made no money, no sales. We're gonna do this on the internet. We're gonna do that on the internet. It was all new, and people poured tons of money into them. They lost money, never launched a product, and then eventually had the dot-com bubble. It is different this time. First of all, the leaders are companies that are making astounding amounts of money already on their other businesses. I mean, if you look at the Magnificent Seven, not in the video, but the other ones, they're spending $50 to $100 billion a year on build out of their data centers. They have money, they're real, they have capabilities, and they're the high tech companies because they're always forward looking. Old stories in American business history where companies, they thought that what they had was good and a bunch of waspy leadership, and they frowned upon anybody with any new ideas, and then they crumbled. Xerox, the copy machine company, lots of companies, Kodak and Polaroid, they sold film, for camera film, and we saw digital photography coming, and they were just, stuck to their physical film, and they got crushed. But these companies are different. And I did a video on Instagram in late 2025, and I said, I think that 2025 is the year of the chips, 2026 is the year of the agents, and 2027 is the year of the robots. Now, I don't mean the chip business after 2025 is dead. It's not. If you look at Intel, they just went from 10 to about 120. Crazy, AMD. And NVIDIA is already up there. They're worth about $5 trillion now. They keep going up because the big investors, smart investors, the big money, they really see that this is the advent of a complete change of the economy. It is a paradigm shift, a model shift. So obviously the data center build out is continuing. They're making chips of their own also, if you know about, learning versus intuition, intellect chips. I'm missing the word, it's a different word. But anyway, so that's going. But this is the year of the agents. This is the year of people making applications that use AI to help businesses to run things more efficiently, whether it's writing legal briefs or whether it's doing accounting or accounts receivable or the receptionist at a company or customer service. It's all going that way. And with the Magnificent Seven having been by far the greatest increase in the value of the S&P 500, but now that I believe that increased efficiency and profitability is going to spread out to the other 493 companies. And starting next year, and especially by year 2030, comes the robots. I look at our cleaning lady and I think, sorry, not going to be a long-term relationship here. The robots are coming. Tesla's value is based upon, they stopped making the Model S and the Model, Y or X? And they're turning their factories over to make robo-taxis and the Optimus robot. Boston Dynamics has Boston Analytic has an unbelievable Atlas robot. Unbelievable what it can do. And the robots work 24/7. They don't complain. They don't make mistakes. They don't need vacations. When their batteries last 4 hours, they walk to the charging station. They put the used battery in. They take out a new battery, go back to work. And that kind of increased profitability is going to sweep through the country, and that's going to, I think, boost the S&P 500. But if you do buy the S&P 500, when it's down, you must not sell. Because when it goes down, that's when rich people take poor people's money. You need to hang on. And Goldman and JP Morgan have commented multiple times that when the market's down, every other one of their major clients are screaming, upset, nervous. They never hear a peep from me, because we're really betting on the American structure of law, of ownership, and of incentives to create and new things and to produce. So I'll just like briefly, when COVID hit in 2020, I did a video, and it was Scott talking about it was down 40%. I did a YouTube video, and I said, I think you should buy S&P 500, because if the country goes out of business, your money's not worth anything anyway. And I said, if given our system of government, the best chance is for the futures to own it. About a year and a half, 2 years later, so many from people in Lakewood came up to me and said, thank you, I doubled my money. All right, thanks very much, guys. You're all great.
You know what you have to do.
Okay.
Thank you so much to Dr. Roberts. Really such an honor.
Thank you for listening to this Ohr Somayach production. To find out more and to partner in our mission, please visit ohr.edu.